Hey everybody, Patrick, PunkTorah, Parshat Tzav. It's really kind of one of these things when you get into portions like this where you're dealing with this real kind of like far out stuff that doesn't feel like it applies. You know, all these kind of weird little rituals and things like that. Like in this week's portion, we're talking about the Kohanim, the priests, and they had to do all this stuff regarding sacrifice. So it's like burning animal parts and the bread and anointing oils and all this kind of stuff. And you sort of think like, well, that's not relevant to my life. And so that means, and you can take it even a step further. You can be like, well, I don't live in the desert thousands of years ago. This doesn't apply to me. Therefore, the whole book doesn't apply to me. And that's how a lot of people are. They take one little thing and they're just like, well, this doesn't work for me, so I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But if you can try to see this particular portion, Parshat Tzav, on sort of a metaphorical level, you can find some really cool stuff. Like as an example, we've got this idea of an eternal flame. It's this flame where they're putting all of these sacrifices, and it's never supposed to go out. It's supposed to be going all the time. And you think about burning crackers and burning animal fat and all of that. It creates this very lustful kind of smoke. They would put frankincense on it to make it smell good, which is a good idea because they would sprinkle blood everywhere, and I'm sure that kind of smelled gross after a while. But you got this eternal flame, essentially. Now, that was in the Mishkan, that was in the temple. We don't have the Mishkan anymore. So what do? Do we throw it out? No. If we threw it out, there wouldn't be 14 million Jews in the world. Instead, what we do is we bring it inward. Sometimes the body is called a temple. And we've got an eternal light, an eternal flame inside us, and we talk about the flame as being something that inspires us, that moves us, that gives us, you know, this energy and this passion to move forward and to do the things that we need to do. And also, that makes us all priests, and we're supposed to be a nation of priests. We're the people of the book. That implies a certain scholarly attitude, a certain genius attitude, if you will. We are all priests now that we are in the diaspora, and we're not in the temple, and we're not in the shtetl. So that's, you know, one really important part. The other important part of it to me is this idea of ritual. So God is commanding Moses to, you know, tell all of his people what these rituals are. You gotta think, these people didn't have a culture. They were living in Egypt and they were slaves. And sure, maybe they had a few, you know, historical things in common and all of that, but they weren't really a unified people until they were all brought out of Egypt. So now Moses has gotta kind of tell all these people, like, here's how you're gonna live Jewishly. And this just happens to be one of the things. Now, since we don't have a central leader like Moses, and since we don't have a central temple, we kind of get to play around and, you know, work on things ourselves. The important thing is that you have the rituals. So think about the rituals that are in your life and find ways to put a Jewish connection on them. You never know what it might be. Or take those Jewish rituals that you have now and, you know, incorporate them into other parts of your life. See, you know, how you can play around with things, make it good. Make more Jewish stuff and see that flame, that light grow inside you. PunkTorah.